Yo, what's poppin' everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Zach Lesage here. Today we're going to be covering over the top 10 best decks in format as we usually do on these fine Wednesday mornings or wherever it is in the world when you're watching this. This week's a little bit special because we are going to be featuring Pokemon 151 cards in here. These cards are not legal for League Cups, League Challenges, Regionals until October 6th. But we do have the set legal on PTCG Live. I've compiled enough data and have crafted and cooked up some good decks. Shout out to PJ from the Shuffle Squad for helping me out with this video today. Definitely helped me cook up some of these lists, so by all means, check them out on Twitter. If you're looking for any of the cards from these decks, go to Deco Gaming, Atlas Collectibles, and PTCGL store. All of those have affiliate discounts in the description, so if you want to use those, save some money on sealed singles and PTCG live codes, by all means feel free to do that. And that being said, give this video a like, share, subscribe. We're almost at 20,000 subs. Help us out, and be sure to let us know in the comments what you think the top 10 best decks are. That being said, let's jump into our number 10 pick. Want to support the Shuffle Squad? Be sure to check out all of our sponsors in the description to pick up Pokemon TCG singles, sealed, and PTCG live codes. Kicking into number 10 is Fusion Mew. Now, Fusion Mew might be low, it might be high, and this 10th place spot really scratched my brain a lot. Mew's still going to be doing the same things of getting Fusion Strike energies into play, attacking with Meloetta, Deoxys, whatever. You can copy whatever you want, draw a bunch of cards with Genesect. So the strategy is going to remain the same. I also do want to note, before we jump too far in the video, in the pinned comment of this video that's going to go up at either when the video goes up or within 24 hours or something like that, there's also reference videos for how these decks are played to some degree. So if you're looking for that, anything else, by all means, feel free to reach out to myself or anyone else on the Shuffle Squad via our team coaching link for some individual coaching. That being said, Mew VMAX is just going to be drawing cards, ripping a bunch of energies into play. Went with extra path because Charizard's seeing some success. I just don't know where Mew fits, and I think Charizard seeing more success makes this deck worse. The other deck that I was debating putting here was Chien-Pao Baxcalibur, but Mew has seen more success. Maybe Chien-Pao is a better deck to be going with going forward, so that might change going on in the future, but I did want to let everyone know that that's kind of like where my thought process was. Path is probably good in this format because there's a lot of ability-based whatever. Mew is one of the best Path decks, therefore we have this deck existing. So that's where we're starting off this list. Again, Pokemon 151 is not even, like, we've had no official tournaments with 151, so don't kill me in the comments, everyone, if I get a list wrong or a card right or whatever, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're trying out here and we're going off the best that we possibly can. So if you like the videos, I really appreciate it. This would be a great time to give the video a thumbs up, like, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Zapping its way into number 9 is Miraidon EX. Now, we've kind of went back a step, and we went with the Path to the Peak build, something that Jesse Parker, who came second at Pittsburgh, cut out of their deck. Now, we have a couple new tricks in here, and basically the couple new tricks is like Zapdos EX and Hawlucha. I mean, Hawlucha's not new, but Zapdos EX is. Zapdos is counterintuitive to the Path to the Peak, which is why we added Zorora. So there's a few things going on here, but it's one of those things where this is generally where I'd want my list to be. Path is good. There's a lot of abilities that are being played. Path is good when abilities are up. At some point, we might go back to a list that plays Beach Cord. I have seen Mew EX in lists like this. I have not been able to pull out the Mew EX out of countless games of testing. And I mean, I could have pulled off Mew EX. I don't want to say that it's impossible to pull off Mew EX. It's pulling off a meaningful Mew EX. So I've cut it for now. If you have some reasonings to assume why it's better or not, or play it or whatever, by all means go for that. But yeah, this is where I'd be at Miraidon. Very aggressive, accelerating a bunch of energies. And we got that Path, Iono, Judge kind of play with it. Maybe we could go down to 2 Judge, 1 Iono or something like that, but we'll have to see how it plays out going forward. This is, again, really similar to what I'd be wanting to play. If not what I'd be playing if I was playing Miraidon. It's also at number 9. I don't think Miraidon's particularly well positioned right now, but that could change as the metagame progresses as we approach Peoria Regionals. Rapid Strike in its way into number 8 is Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX with Inteleon. Basically what I've done from this list is I've taken my stock list that Tyler Zakoris and I have been working on, and we basically added in Starmie, or I should say I added in Starmie, because I don't know if Tyler would approve of it or not, and I don't know if y'all are going to approve of it or not, but listen to my spice play. This deck's all about, like, ripping your opponent's, like, small basics to shreds, using Yoga Loop, and then maybe pulling off a Rapid Strike Urshifu at once. And you don't even need to put Rapid Strike Urshifu down. You could just, you could use, put Rapid Strike Urshifu V down the turn that you use Yoga Loop, so it's never at risk, and then you go Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX, Rapid Strike, Gmax Rapid Flow, or whatever, and rip your opponent to shreds. Cool, 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 cool. Where we have the new Starmie is, I was, like, looking at it, I'm like, okay, there's a Rapid Strike Staryu, that's kind of cool. We can search that out with Octillery. Because, I mean, why not have a free search on a Pokemon? And then I'm like, okay, what if we go for a turn where we're like, Starmie, get an extra 20 in play. Then we put down Rapid Strike, Urshifu V, and Metacham, and Yoga Loop that turn, and then get out a Rapid Strike. We might be able to cheese out an extra 20 damage, and before you're like, yo, Zach, you're going for, like, a lot of effort, because, like, the synergy of Irida and Octillery ain't that deep. Maybe it is. Maybe the extra 20 is game-changing. And that's kind of really where I'm at, and I haven't had it negatively impact this deck, because this is where the Tomb Giacomo spot comes. Mew's also at number 10 on this list. So if we avoid Mew like we always want to avoid Mew, maybe the Starmie is winning more games. That's where I'm at. If there's any Rapid Strike players, am I cooking? Am I not cooking? Sorry for the hoarse voice, I'm just munching some cereal. Pretty good. But I think this list might be cooking, so I'll have to see exactly how it goes. But I like how Rapid Strike's looking right now. Here we are at our number 7 deck, and that is Lost Tina. Now, Lost Tina has basically gained Mew EX, and I think Mew EX is probably necessary for this deck to compete with some Lawson decks that might also have Mew EX. So it's kind of like the Hawlucha factor. If you don't play it and they do, then you're probably at a disadvantage. Because before we used to play Hawlucha, and we'd be like, yo, we're going to use Lost Mine at the end of the game, knock out 2 comp phase, and if your opponent doesn't have that opportunity, you could just, like, kind of steal the game 1 turn in advance. In this case, Mew EX can copy Radiant Greninja, so we have opportunities to copy different attacks and stuff like that. So I do like that in a deck that can accelerate energies to it relatively quickly. And this list is pretty standard stock at this point. Tina does suffer from Mew EX itself, so your opponent can copy Lost Impact and just knock out Tina. That might be something that we might have to deal with in the future. However, we're not always going to be using Tina. That might be a turn where we want to be using Roxanne. I think in those matchups it might be interesting. So we'll have to see how it plays out. Like, again, it's one of those things where, like, maybe Path doesn't have to hold off some of these decks. Maybe Roxanne is cool. Maybe a lot of things are cool. Tina's at number 7, and that's really where we're at. I don't think it's the best deck in format right now, and I think that Mew EX is quite a loss. Like any other Lost Zone box decks, we're going to be accelerating a bunch of we're going to be getting cards into the Lost Zone, accelerating a bunch of energies with Mirage Gate, and really attacking with the attackers of our choice. So this is what we got going on for Tina. I think Tina's cool. Again, I don't really think that it's the best position deck, but it's definitely in the top 10 somewhere. And this is where I have it at number 7, so we'll see if I'm right or wrong, but right now I think Tina's, this list looks pretty cool. Jumping into number 6 is Kyogre Lasso. Now, this deck did get a slight buff by being able to add in Mew EX and adding in Ditto. We did cut a couple things from this deck. I did cut to an Energy Recycler, taking a cue from Sawyer Melvin's top 16 list at Pittsburgh. And it's because we're not getting Kyogre off all the time, and I think that one Energy Recycler is fine in that case. Kyogre's, like, the main focus of this deck to some, and in a lot of cases it's just like, this is a Diet Lost Zone Turbo. Where we can be a fully functioning deck, but we do cut some losses with some consistency cards. That being said, I think that the Ditto gives you more opportunities to not start with Kyogre, allows you to switch into Comfey, allows you to thin through your deck a little bit better for Kyogre purposes. Mew EX gives you some opportunities against some other decks, where you just kind of need it if you're playing Lost Zone box, I think, at this point. So, I mean, the moral of the story is, if you haven't picked up Mew EX by now, definitely go to Atlas, Deco Gaming, pick up some cards, pick up some codes from PTCGL store, you know what I'm saying? Appreciate it. But yeah, I think this is where I'm at for Kyogre. We're not always getting off the Kyogre win con with Kyogre. That's the biggest misconception with this deck, is that you pull off Kyogre every game. You might be pulling Kyogre off 1 every 10 games. And it's not because we're trying to pull it off, it's just because it's not necessary in every single matchup. So know your limit, stay within it, is kind of the name of the game with this deck. So I think it's cool, and this is kind of where I'm at for a list. We might be one Clara or Super Rod or Energy Recycler short. I'll think about that as I continuously play with this deck, but right now this is where I'm at with it. Psychic Embracing all the way to number 5 is Gardevoir EX. So we got Gardevoir in the middle of the list this week, and I think Gardevoir is fantastic. Gardevoir is probably my favorite deck out of everything out of Pokemon 151. I think the Mew EX has a lot of synergy here, where we could accelerate a bunch of energies really quick and do whatever we want with the Mew EX, giving us a little bit more toolbox action. Again, basing this list off of Tord's list, and all of the other lists that have kind of seen success around nowadays. And the strategy of the deck is always going to remain the same, of accelerating energies with Gardevoir and a bunch of attaching to your Gardevoir from Chilling Reign, your Cresselia, your Zacian, and maybe now your Mew EX. My biggest gripe when it comes to this deck is how long it takes to be playing this deck. I think it's fine in a best of 1 format because I can complete a game in 30 minutes. No problem. Where I struggle with this deck is best of 3. Sometimes the games you do not know if you're winning or losing game 1 until the very end. And I don't think this deck can accurately be played at a regional championships with our current time rules. So, whether or not you're playing this deck too fast, too slow, somewhere in between, I just don't think that it's a deck for me to be playing at regionals, because I do not think that I can complete games in a best of 3 manner that is worthwhile to be playing. So if you're playing Gardevoir, that's fine. I just worry about ties or putting yourself in a position where you're like 1-0 victories and stuff like that. I'm going to stay away from Gardevoir for the foreseeable future, unless of course our time rules change with this deck. But otherwise the deck is fantastic in an untimed format and stuff like that. It's just, I think this deck is just too long to set up. Stage 2 decks can be like that, but this is not an aggressive Stage 2 deck. This is a single prize card Stage 2 deck, disguised as a 2 prize card deck, because you see all these 2 prize card Pokemon, but you're basically trying to throw as many Gardevoir Chilling Reign. So yeah, Gardevoir is an interesting choice. Definitely a solid deck, but it's just not a deck for me. Jumping into our number 4 pick is Charizard EX. And this deck just came number 1, or this archetype just came first at the Curitiba Regionals with William Acevedo piloting something very similar. This is the 151 kind of spec bump. I compare it to be like 151 is like, for Charizard, it's like the new iPhone. It's almost the same thing as the iPhone 14, but it's just a little bit, weighs a little bit less. It is a little bit faster. The camera's a little bit better. We get the better Charmander, Charmeleon, Pidgey. That's literally the only 3 things that I've added into this deck. I cut the Mawile from Williams' list, just because I didn't necessarily think that it fit in with our Lugia colorless metagame that's upon us. Not to leak out any decks, but that deck's pretty good. Otherwise, I think the core of the list is fine. I've been playing around with it. I really like the Arvin engine. I really just like this deck in general. So this is, to me, is the best way to play Charizard right now. And we're just going to be rare candy into Charizard and attack. And if your opponent attacks the wrong Pokemon, you do more damage with Burning Darkness. Like, I like how Charizard works and operates. So Charizard is definitely a deck that, like, it's getting there. We got to worry a little bit about Path. That is something to consider. Maybe we'll see Charizard with barrel decks in the future or something like that, but right now I think this is where the list is at when it comes to Charizard EX. Single Strike on its way to number 3 is Lugia Single Strike. Now, this is a deck that a lot of people are not necessarily expecting. I think Lugia is very well positioned in this format, and it was much more well positioned before we had to deal with Charizard. However, we have a splashback in that Cobalion that allows you to knock out Charizard with this deck. I've played this deck at Pittsburgh. I've played this deck at a few cups, seen some success with it, and I think like we're just going to be getting Archeops out, discarding them, Summoning Star, and accelerating energies. This deck to me has some advantages over the Lugia colorless deck that might be a little bit more popular for now, such as being able to attack with a fighting type Pokemon with Stonjourner against a Miraidon, or an Arceus, or using Yveltal against Gardevoir or Mew VMAX. Certainly some cool things going on there. So I like how this deck plays out. We'll have to see. I did cut Pumpkaboo for a 4th stadium. Nothing crazy there. Maybe there's just not enough path. Maybe the path's too much at the bottom and it's still going to see success. We'll have to see how this metagame plays out over the next like week before I decide definitively what we need for these lists going into Peoria. But right now I think Lugia Single Strike is just kind of the tried and true deck of the format that would be a really safe play going into an event like Peoria or Lille or Toronto or Sacramento. Basically any of them. More than Lugia Colorless, which has not nearly seen as much success lifetime. Jumping into our number 2 pick is Lost Zone Turbo. So Turbo Lost Zone Box has been crushing it up, and it seems like it has a lot of the answers, and where it's not making space for the Tino line being a stage 1 or making room for the extra energies for Kyogre, it's used that space to add in a Sky Seal Stone, a Mew EX, a Ditto, and we're ready to really just like rumble when it comes to playing this deck. And the Ditto allows us to kind of thin through our deck a little bit more, have a slightly better starter against the metagame right now. And I just think that like you can Ditto transform into Comfey, Ditto transform into Cramorant, like you can Ditto transform whatever you need as long as it's on your first turn. And this is really the type of deck that's going to be abusing that, or that card's just going to end up being Lost Zone fodder. So it really works in a Lost Zone box setting. Mew EX gives you a lot of answers against other Lost Zone box decks, and the metagame in general, on top of just being the best Lost Zone box deck there possibly is in format. So, I mean, this is a very tempting deck to play if you like Lost Zone box. I think this deck list pretty much knocks it out of the park for what we're looking for. Like, we have enough answers for the metagame. And even that Mew EX giving us answers if we get Roxanne in the late game, being able to use its restart ability to draw some extra cards. We could draw out of a lot of situations when it comes to playing this deck. And on top of it just being a natural attacker. So that's what we got going on for Turbo Lost Zone Box. What's your best guess at what's our number 1 deck? Put your best guesses in the comments below. And again, let's see how it goes. Jumping into our number 1 pick is Lugia Colorless. I know I talked about it a little bit when we were going through this video and being like, yeah, Lugia Colorless is pretty good. Yeah, Lugia Colorless is really good. Now, Lugia Colorless is good because it can use Mew EX, and that's really what's brought it back. Nothing else really beyond that. We just have opportunities to copy whatever our opponent's doing. Some lists are only running 1 Mew EX, and some others are running... well, this list is running 2, and I think it's similar to Single Strike Lugia, where you're just trying to run 2 Tyranitar. I want to run 2 Mew EX, so I'm able to attack with Mew EX twice, and I really like the opportunity to be copying whatever my opponent's doing if they have a cool attack, or having... there's just so much cool things going on here. I mean, I like attacking with Snorlax against single prize card decks. I like attacking weirder end of the game. I like attacking Luxray and Mirror. So, I mean, as this deck continuously, like, grows and plays out, I think this is very similar to the lists that are going to be seeing the most success. Now, I could cut Pumpkaboo here for another Mesagosa. I think that that's reasonable, similar to what I did to Single Strike. I left the Pumpkaboo in to really show the 2 sides of Lugia. So not necessarily saying that Pumpkaboo is right or Pumpkaboo is wrong on either Single Strike or Colorless. I just think it's a good card in general. Or it might not necessarily be needed depending on how the metagame goes. However, I like the extra energies that we have with this deck, so that's why I did keep Pumpkaboo into this deck. And again, this deck has some... it has some answers to deck things like Mawile. Like, there are some benefits to just playing a bunch of colorless energies instead of playing single strike energies. You can't get them back, but you do have all those benefits of playing all those different types. So this is what we got going on for number 1. Lists are available in the pinned comments, probably posted shortly after this video or with this video. So stay tuned for all of those. But yeah, this is what we got going on for our list. Let me close things out. And that's what we got going on for our video today. Hopefully you enjoyed watching this video, and by all means, there's going to be a lot of other Pokemon 151 content going on in the next few weeks. We got regionals coming up. We got a lot of cool things going on, so hopefully we'll see you from the Shuffle Squad at a few events. Maybe you'll catch us at our next video. Maybe you'll see us on our Patreon. Check out our Patreon, by the way. That's one thing that I don't mention enough. Our Patreon has access to all of us. We write an article or a mini article once per week. Pretty much everyone on the squad. I have access to all of the deck lists 24/7 before these videos are created and more. So stay tuned for a lot of great content there. Go to patreon.com/TSSWin, and it does directly help support the squad. So if you want to support and get some good information, that's the place to do it.
Shout out to our sponsors, PTCGL Store, Atlas Collectibles, Deco Gaming, TCG Bulk, and Ultimate Guard for all of the support. Appreciate and love y'all. Check out the description for some great discounts there. And check out the pinned comment for copy and pastable lists. I probably mentioned that a few times in the video, but I know some of y'all are watching on mute. So if you're watching now, that's great. If not, we will catch up with all y'all later. Peace out and have a great one. Hey trainers, tired of having too many cards lying around? I know that feeling, and I know what a hassle it is to try and sell those cards. But selling bulk is now easier than ever with TCG Bulk. Find tons of potential buyers in a single place. You just download the app, look for the best buyer near you, and carefully pack your bulk, ship it, and you get paid. It really is that simple. Turn the cards you don't want into the cards you absolutely need for your next deck. You made it to the end. Thank you so much for watching this entire video from the Shuffle Squad. Honestly, from the bottom of our hearts, we appreciate each and every person that supports our content, watches what we have going on every single day, every single week, even from time to time, and continuously allows us to have a forum to project our creative content towards the Pokemon TCG community. So if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and even leave a comment to help boost the YouTube algorithm. That being said, we'll catch you with our next video. Thanks again. Take it easy.